watching Moms Matter on Focus TV Network, and I'm Shirin Yadigar, publisher of LA Mom Magazine. We're back again this week with Samara Fabrick. Thank you, Samara, for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
So, for those of you who don't know Samara, she is our in-house psychotherapist who focuses on relationships. And I think the big question for a lot of us moms out there is, how do we keep the romance alive in long-term relationships? How do we do it?
It's a great question, and it's really important to keep the romance alive because that's what keeps us connected and moving forward and not complacent. You know, I think we get very stuck in our patterns and our rhythms, and we stop talking to each other. So there's a couple hints that I have. The first piece is to make sure that you're connecting with your partner in things that you really like and things that are enjoyable. I think that oftentimes, you know, making dinner, doing the dishes, putting the kids to bed, not so enjoyable. And that's oftentimes where we connect. So it's about figuring out what's enjoyable. Reading a book together, watching a TV show together. I have a friend, she and her husband watch 1 hour of TV together a night and then talk about it. It's a beautiful idea. It's enjoyable, it's connective. Right. So I think about doing something that is both enjoyable to each of you. I also think it's important to do things that are fun, that are pleasurable. So enjoyable and pleasurable, a little bit different, right? But going away, traveling, going scuba diving, whatever it is that feels really out of your norm and it's shaking you up a little bit. So again, to kind of fight that complacency. And then I think really surrounding yourself with other people who are also doing the same kind of thing. I think that we tend to kind of vibrate at the frequency that we're surrounded by. Absolutely. And that's not to say that, you know, if you have divorced friends or whatever, you shouldn't hang out with them by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't have any friends left. But just kidding. But it's important to be around people that lift you up as a couple, as opposed to pulling you down. 100%. And I think that gets harder, but I do think that that's a really important piece.
I think that's an incredible point, and I think you're right. And that changes. Life is a journey, and as you go through that journey, your couple friends change. And so what you're saying is you might have a friend on your own who's great, but maybe as a couple, you don't want to be with them as much because that energy is just very different.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you're right. Pushing yourself to do something different, but doing it together with your partner really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's easy, and I'm guilty of this too, you know, to go to our girlfriends for our emotional needs. Right. And I really think a lot of it is about really staying focused on getting those primary needs mostly met, or, you know, met by your partner before you go out into your concentric circles. I don't think one person is ever enough, but I think it needs to start there, and then it can work out. And then I also think physical intimacy is really important to keep romance alive. You know, it may change with age and menopause and all that good stuff, but I still think it's important, even if it's not intercourse, if it's touching, anything skin to skin, affection, kissing. We like to make out in the car. I'm not supposed to talk about myself.
How long have you been married?
July will be 24 years.
Amazing. And the two of you are still hot and spicy. I see it all the time. It's incredible.
We like it.
Because you make out in the car.
We make out in the car.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's really the day-to-day stuff is non-negotiable. I mean, you need to do that as a partnership. Sure. But it's really important to take yourself out of that day-to-day stuff as well. And then I think the last piece is really so we talked about physical intimacy, but also the emotional intimacy. You know, being able to listen to each other, to understand each other, to really get where the other person is coming from. I call marriage, when it's working, that soft place to land. You know, it's like, okay, it's soft. You know that your partner is there for you. And I think that's really feeds into that romantic love.
And this is why, Samara, we love to have you on Moms Matter, because you get down into it and just tell us boom, boom, boom. And you know what you're saying is simple and easy, and it really makes you feel good. And if you really live that intentional life, you're going to have a great marriage and a great life. And after 20 plus years, you're still making out in the car.
We're still making out in the car.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thanks again for joining us. Always such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you just saw Samara Fabrick and Shirin Yadigar on Moms Matter right here on Focus TV Network. We'll see you next time.